Okay. Hi everyone. Let me pull up the PDF for this class. Let me see. It's been a little bit of there we go. Alrighty, here we go. So, hope that anyone who wishes to come, they can come, and so you can have an idea what the certification is all about. So mainly, how can I put this? Being a CBTT practitioner is mainly serving Hashem, Avodat Hashem. So it's a journey that you do with your client and even within yourself. To be a CBTT practitioner, you have to go through your own process of learning so that you can pass that on to your client. And so let me see over here, you guys. Okay, so here we go with the whiteboard over here. So text. So the number one thing for us to CBTT practitioners, it's us to understand the priority is Avodat Hashem, Avodat Hashem over the material, if you want to say brachas, that Hashem may bring through it, through practice, or even the brachas that it can bring within our lives on every aspect, and within the well-being of our family members and co-workers. Why is this? Why? This is because if we bring Torah learning into our lives, then we will bring healing. It will bring healing into our neshama, and by extension, the neshama of our family members, and friends, and so on. So we're gonna go back over here. We're gonna go back to over here. Hold on a second. We're gonna go back to the PDF. Let me see. It's a little bit of a challenge, but it can be done. So anyways, thank you for your patience, and we're gonna go back over here. So this is live class 3, and so it says, look after your mind our bodies. This is part 2. It's all in your head. So the word Asher means happy or fortunate. It also has the same letters as the Hebrew word for head, which is Rosh. The word Besimcha, which means with happiness, has the same letters as a Machshava, which means thought. That is, our happiness is in our heads, because our thoughts determine our attitudes, and obviously the attitudes are part of our actions. So as Rabbi Abraham Pam from Rosh Hashiva of the Shiva Todah Vo'adas I often quote it. The city of happiness can only be found in the state of mind. So, for example, I'm not saying like if you think positive thoughts around the clock while you're going through so much pain, if you're going through illness, it's gonna make it all go away. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, for example, if you're going, God forbid, through sickness, and you have, and then you have this really big pain. So if you shift your focus from being thinking about the pain, and you just focus on a spontaneous prayer, keep what you do, so you keep asking Hashem and you talk to Him. You may still be in pain, but it might lower from 10 to 9.9 or 9.8. And that's something from having to deal with excruciating pain. But if your heart is with Hashem and your mind is with Hashem, then some part of you will have some comfort, and knowing that there's Hashem. You're going through that quote unquote hell, and if Hashem is there with you, you can breathe, and knowing that there's some comfort. Like, for example, you're going through a difficult time emotionally, and you know that if you call your best friend, she will come running to you. That of in itself is a comfort. So if you have that comfort of knowing where you're so sure, 100% sure, with no doubt, that if you call to Hashem with all your might, then he will go, He will come to you, He will come to your aid, then that is a big comfort. And it will help you to be able to deal with that pain, call it physical pain, emotional pain, any kind of difficult time you're going through. So it will enable you to just to try to go back into your center and analyze what is it that you need to work on. What kind of thoughts are the ones that are damaging you, and which are the thoughts that you need to nurture. And that will transfer the same thing with your clients if you have a practice. So if you take that teaching, if you will, and you transfer on to the people you're working with, and that will be such a huge bracha for that person to be able to harness that method, if you want to call it that, or that technique, so they will be able to deal with life's issues. Because if we shift our minds and we think, okay, I'm going through this very difficult time, this very, very difficult situation. But what is it that I can do? What kind of decisions I can make that my quote unquote load can listen? If I think through the fact that if I'm going through this difficult time and ask myself, what is it that I'm learning? What is it that Hashem wants to teach me through this moment or situation right now? And if you need to verbalize it by even just say it, or even transfer it to paper, which is very useful, and perhaps do a mind map, whatever it is you need to do it. There's no wrongs here. Every person learns things differently. We absorb things differently, and we have different techniques to be able to, that works for us, to be able to go through that process of healing, and to be able to process our feelings and understand them and analyze them, and then just let them go. Because it's very important for us also to be able to, part of our healing process should be the art of letting go. Because if we hold on so hard to our feelings, negative feelings, negative thoughts, then we're not going to be able to let go, and we're not going to be able to actually heal. So how can you heal from, let's say, you fell down and then you hurt your shoulder, and then you did not take care of it like you're supposed to. You just put a little cream, but you did not take care of it like you're supposed to. You did not put like ice on it. And then again, and you fall down again, and then you slip and fall and you hit your other shoulder. So the same thing goes. If you do not actually take care of those feelings that are negative, if you do not let them go, then those feelings are going to be the ones that are going to keep digging into your neshama, even opening that pain and make it bigger and bigger, wider and wider, and more painful, and like that, and that pain turns into anger, and that anger, it just goes through your actions and your thoughts and everything. It affects everything in your life, your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, and every single part of aspect of that is going to affect even your train of thoughts. So let's go back to what Rav Abraham would say. He will quote, and I'm quoting this: "The city of happiness can only be found in the state of mind." I am not saying that, hey, I'm thinking positive thoughts and whoop, and I'm going to be happy all the time, and I'm gonna go into that my state of happiness. No, it takes time to be able to get to that, to have your own state of happiness, because each of us have, for example, for me, my state of happiness is having a state of filled with art and creativity and many things, and music and joy and laughter, and and having my loved ones okay, and my children, and that's my state of happiness. My husband, my marriage, all that for me is happiness, my state of happiness. But it takes a process and a time to get there. So as I was saying in a previous class, it is very important for us to be patient with ourselves during that process to get there. So go to the next slide. So Hasidu teaches that Mo'akshalid al-Halev, which means the mind can control the heart. So by learning Torah, particularly Hasidus, we develop control of our minds, which will help us develop healthy emotions. You can control your emotions rather than letting them control you. This Samak frequently exhorted Hasidim, tract good, but think good, which means think good and it will be good. So, for example, if we're thinking, if we're going through it, you want to go out, right, for a walk, and then you haven't worked on a very long time, you haven't gone out for a walk, and then out of nowhere you get this fear of okay, if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go, but then what about if I fall? What about if I fall? What about if I fall? And then that thought keeps rolling in your head. So, and then you decide, okay, I'm just gonna go out for a walk. Just gonna do it. But your mind is still thinking, I'm gonna fall. And guess what? You have more of a tendency to fall because your mind is telling your body that you're you don't know what to do, is insecure. And it's very likely that you might fall. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying this is more a possibility. So if you try, when you think good thoughts, you equip your mind, your neshama, and your whole body to handle things in a more but in a more effective fashion. There will be a point that you mean to, you might make a mistake, or you might feel something difficult. But if each of those difficult times, you always think of, okay, and you think good, and you will be good. So everything that is happening to me is for a reason. It's because Hashem wants me to learn something from this. And this comes from Hashem, for no one else but Hashem. So I go back and say, hey, if I need to grab a notebook, and what is it that Hashem wants me to learn from this? And you start analyzing and thinking, well, he wants me to learn that I need to be more cautious with my finances. He wants me to be more present with my children. Well, you name it. So it's a matter of us sitting down and having like 3 minutes of our time, even if it's just you're like at work and you just get your phone. Most phones have like an app that says notes, and then you can just like start typing, okay, and then you type whatever you need to type. And when we do that kind of like, it's a technique of writing down something, our minds begin to be more cognizant of what is going on. And then if you make it a habit, it will be like as if Hashem is your therapist. And because when you ask him and you daven and you pray and you learn Torah, then you have the tools there to be able to discern what is it that is happening, or what is it that you need to work on. And you write it down, it becomes tangible to you. So keep going, guys. Okay, so there was a little mistake over here. Oops, sorry guys. So here, I want to fix it and send it to you guys. Sorry. So his contention was that the power that we each hold over our thoughts are consequently, our life experiences. So, as it's telling us here, that our thoughts will be part of life experiences. I think everyone knows that. The way that we absorb and view life, it's part of the experience that we live in our lives. It's part of our human experience, and how we view everything and how we deal with everything. So we think that if we think good and it will be good, then that will be part of our life experience. It's a very important teaching. It might be simple. Many people think that it's simple at times, but really not. Especially when we're going through really hard moments in life, or something very challenging. That especially when it's health related, that's one of the main challenges. Like even nowadays, a lot of people have to keep their closeness with Hashem while they're going through a very difficult health challenge. The difficult thing to go through. So let's move on. Because why is so extremely important to the lens we use to view our lives and our hold on a second, it's another thing over here. And our world within us, which are our emotions, thoughts, dreams, wants, our deepest prayers, our pain, traumas, everything is interconnected within layers upon layers inside our neshama. It is a simple but yet complex of what it means to be human and go through the learning process that we call life. Think of it like this. Like your neshama is right there. Imagine it as a really huge, beautiful, gold and white flame filled with light, and that's your neshama. That's the very essence of your neshama. And when we go through moments through our lives that we need to process and learn from it, some are negative, some are positive, and there's a layer that goes up and a layer that which are negative, and the negative layers going up and just covering our neshama, and again and covering and covering and covering. So Without Hasidus, we have no way to peel those layers. So, and without prayer, it's impossible to peel those layers, because the healing cannot be done without Hashem. It doesn't stick. Because if you go your healing with Hashem and you know that, okay, well, I healed from this, and something happens and it opens up a wound, that's something that you healed before, then okay, so that happened and it opened that one, but I know what to do now. That is a big difference. And you go to Hashem and say, Hashem, this happened, and I know what to do. Let's do this together, and let's heal together. And that makes a world of difference, and that will make a world of difference with your clients. And we are complex. Human beings are complex beings, and hence the reason why Hashem gave us His Torah, so that we could actually have the blueprint that is necessary for us to be able to come back to our center and breathe. Okay, I'm not doing this on my own, so I'm going to you, Hashem, and you tell me what is it exactly I need to do by davening and meditating and Torah study and being in awe that you gave me the chance to open my eyes again and say Modéani, and okay, just one more day that we have together, and I'm gonna honor you by showing kindness to my family, showing what it means to be a good Jew to my family, and love my family members and my children and guide them, and so on. So there's a very famous saying. It says, beauty, I think everyone has heard it, is beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So we have to be really, really mindful how protect our eyes and the way we look at life. Because if we look at our daily life with a gray kind of mindset, or even black, that is all we're going to see. But if we understand that life has different shades within a rainbow, sometimes becomes darker, other times becomes lighter, other times. But if we attach to those layers of colors throughout that we're going through our lives, and we attach Hashem's light to it, then it will brighten our lives. It will brighten the way we see things. That it would bring that protection. Like it's like putting on glasses, Hashem's glasses. You put it on, and you're looking through His eyes, and you're not looking through your eyes. We're looking life through the concept of what Hashem thinks is beauty, not what we think is beauty, and that just it does make a world difference. I know I say that a lot, but it does. Excuse me. So let's go on. It is well known saying that at times we don't really think about, and we don't apply it to the concept. Apply it to, okay, Hashem equals that saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. How does that relate to Hashem? It makes sense, because Hashem has given us the definition of beauty, or what beauty means, and the world gave us another definition of beauty, which is entirely erroneous, and it's not what Hashem wants. It is not according to Hashem wants for our well-being. It is not according to Torah at all. So Hashem wants us to be healthy in all aspects. That's what He wants for us. He loves us very, very much. Even sometimes we really don't think about it or even doubt it. let's move on, guys. So hence the reason why it is so vital that we take the time to focus on healing, on retract oneself to the center of one's essence, so that the connection with Hakadosh Baruch Hu can deepen, and therefore work on one's midot, which will impact our overall health. This is a journey of healing and self-discovery, not a race to be able to be who Hashem wants us to be. We need to take this journey one step at a time, one day at a time. So, for example, I'm going to give you a very simple example. So, if one person has a habit of eating junk food, and that's what they eat, that's a really harmful habit, and they just cannot stop eating, and they just gorge on it and just eat and eat and eat and eat. And obviously that kind of anxiety, because obviously if a person cannot stop eating, there's an anxiety there's something emotional attached to it. If that is a middle they need to work on, that is negative, and they don't work on it, that will therefore impact logically on their overall health. So as we talked before, if a person is eating junk food, for example, and then they're gonna feel sleepy, and they feel sleepy, they just really don't want to deal with anything. They just don't want to go to sleep. They just don't want to do anything at all. So that's going to impact their spiritual health. It's going to impact their physical health. It's going to impact their emotional health. Because most of the time people go through that moment and say, oh my gosh, what did I eat so much? And then you feel bad, and then you feel depressed, and just it's a chain reaction. So so it seems simple, but it's not simple. So anyway, let's keep going. It's very important. Again, I will remind everybody, it's very important to be really, really patient with oneself. And remember, with not a race, we're going through a journey, and sometimes we might have to retract, and sometimes we'll go 3 steps forward. Sometimes we have to go 1 step back, and it's just how it is. It is a journey. It's a learning process. It's not something that let's say like a certification, if you will. It's life. That's just the way Hashem made things to be. So it's also indeed important to note that we are not perfect, but we are right at the moment where Hashem wants us to be. It is so important for you guys to keep that in mind, and sometimes it's hard for even myself to keep that in mind. I am the moment that Hashem wants me to be. For example, I had a COVID, and it's been a really challenging health-wise, and lack of energy, and the cough, and the fever, and all that. It's been challenging, but what it has brought to my life, it is the knowledge that I needed to step a little 2 steps back and spend more time with my children, and just be more with my husband, and be more. I'm a stay-at-home mother, and I'm also work from home, obviously, but sometimes we can be at home but not actually be there. Sometimes we can overburden ourselves with X amount of things, and our minds and our hearts are not there. And moments like this, when you have a challenge, physical challenge, and that's it is a blessing in disguise, because even though I am sick, but I find myself laughing more, and I found myself thinking and meditating more on things that need to get worked on, like going back to basics. You go back to the basic things that need to be worked on, or things that you have forgotten to work on, and you take a step back. It's not that taking a step back is bad. It's actually very good, because at times we have to go back and step back a little bit more, and then so you can take 3 or 4 steps forward. So you're able to take those steps forward. Sorry. Okay. Let's keep going, guys. In that specific moment in our lives where He will teach us, Hashem will teach us what we need to know in order for us to bring that same healing process we are going through onto others. So if you know the blueprints, then that's the way you can bring that huge raha to other people when they're going through a very difficult time. So, and again, that can only be attained if we cling to Hashem by davening and meditating and Torah learning. I know I sound like a broken record, but it is that formula that we all need to work on. That's the formula that is necessary for all of us to be able to go through that process in a more effective way, and more at ease with the process. And it's not something that is not like without Hashem. Imagine the process to be like kind of like you get inside, like you put yourself inside a washer and it just shakes you all the time. But if you go through the process with Hashem, those movements become softer and softer, even they're a little painful, but you can deal with them. And that's the difference. So let's keep going. The Lubavitcher Rebbe explained that positive thinking leads to a more positive outcome by creating correspondingly positive spiritual influences that enable these thoughts to materialize. Thoughts can be our greatest weapon and acted against. Oh, sorry, it's another thing. Okay, I didn't write that. Sorry. I'm gonna send to you guys. I'll correct it. Against the Yetzer Hara, our greatest detriment. If we let them control us, thus giving the victory to the Yetzer Hara over our neshama. So every time we let the Yetzer Hara lead us into negative thoughts, and we allowed it by not putting up our shield with of our, when we dive in and meditate and pray and learn Torah learning. That is like a shield that we put up. Because if we pour our minds and our thoughts with Torah study, that was something that's gonna be in our and not an automatic. If Torah is something that we go automatic to, then Tzedakah is gonna have a really hard time with fighting against us. Well, not against us, actually, against Hashem and His Torah. So it's going to be really hard for the Tzedakah to achieve victory if our minds and our hearts, everything is toward Hashem. And that is, sorry, what it will be, what Hashem wants us to be. That is what Hashem wants us to do. So let's keep going, guys. It's almost there. We're almost there. So meditation and guided imagery. This is one of the best tools you can ever use, I think, because in my practice it has worked wonders. Baruch Hashem for that in people's lives. Because the power of the mind, I know it sounds like really something that people say often. The power of the mind is one of the most powerful weapons. But I'm not saying like the power of the mind, like you can do anything. No, I'm saying the power of the mind with using not using it. I don't know. I want to use that word, but with Hashem, and use that tool and that guided meditation tool with Hashem, and use it not as like the regular kind of meditation that you really listen to. But it's more like using that technique and teaching that person that it is okay and to daven and go through that kind of like imagery kind of journey, while also using prayer and encourage them to use prayer so they can Hashem would take the lead and begin that healing process with that person or even yourself. So the regular kind of meditation does help, but it's like, for me, I do believe that it's like a instant support and benefits. It gives you some measure of peace, but there's a peace that does not linger, because if you do not have Hashem and you don't have that backup, if you will, and you don't have that thing, and you know that Hashem will always be there for you, then you will feel that loneliness like so deep that peace is not gonna linger, and we will tend to try to fill that void with things that would lead us either away from Hashem or away from the path Hashem wishes for us to take, which is that would be like another victory for Yetzer Hara. If we decide, it can be something good, but if we decide to do something that Hashem does not want us to be at, then we're gonna, even though it's a good action, it's gonna take us longer to get back to the path that Hashem wanted us to be. And it's not gonna be such a positive experience for us, because we're gonna feel not at ease. We're not gonna feel sure about it. Because with Hashem, when we know that when we're going to doing something right, and it's something that we really need, that Hashem is, yes, that's a path we need to take. You feel, in my case, I feel like a huge peace within my neshama, and it's just there. And I know I'm doing the right thing, and if Hashem wants me to do, and that's where He wants me to be. So everyone has their own ways that Hashem leads them. So let's move on. We need to understand that we are not perfect, as well as the importance of us aiming to go back to basics, hand in hand with Hashem, because our healing journey and our client's healing journey never ends. We just learn the process of going through that journey with Hashem, which enables us to always go to Him for guidance rather than stay in the darkness of our painful emotions that trap us and do not let us move forward or closer to Hashem. That very fact does not let us bring the bracha of passing on the sweet healing from the Torah onto our loved ones and clients as well. So this is the last part, you guys. We were talking about previous class and Mushi mind, the concept of Mushi mind. So the Mushi mind it's a kind of type of quote unquote condition that the person cannot think straight, and so they cannot actually control what they're thinking. So one way to fortify our minds in order for us to think good is through meditation, but meditation with Hashem, by using meditation and spontaneous prayer together. That becomes such a powerful tool. And then you add on Torah learning and then davening. It's one of the greatest weapons for healing and the greatest techniques for us to go through life in a more effective, happy, even feel ourselves on simcha even when you're going through something that's really challenging. It becomes a lot more manageable. So there are certain meditative techniques that can be actually, I was saying before, they can be very helpful in achieving the mental state that can break one out of harmful habituated thoughts processes. As I was mentioning before, when you're like so anxious that you just wanna go and buy vanilla ice cream, if you will, and just wanna just eat the whole thing. That's emotional eating. So if we, instead of us thinking of that thought, and you know that you're aware that that thought is just not from Hashem, and then in that moment you go into automatic and say, yeah, chocolate ice cream, you just say, you know what, I'm just gonna go to Hashem and just daven, and just, even if you don't have to guard your sitter, you don't have to guard your siddur. Just say, Hashem, I'm going through this. And if you need to grab just a notebook or a paper and just write down what's bothering you, then that will make a difference entirely. Let's go back over here. Okay, hold on. Okay. So anyway, okay. The last part, meditation. I was saying, Hibbut is spontaneous prayer. Helps us internalize what we have learned and what we need to learn, so that we can bring theory into practice. Many Hasidic masters have praised the spiritual benefits of meditating. Throughout the Tanya, the Rebbe emphasizes how important meditation is for self-refinement and for its power to reveal the hidden love of God, which each and every person has within. We all have that power. We all have that. People think that the power of love is just like something that not like relevant, but it's so relevant, because the power of love, it derives other things: compassion, understanding, kindness, and all of that can bring about so much healing into a person's life, even if you show kindness for the simplest things, by just listening or smiling at the person, or saying good afternoon or good morning, or just asking, how do you feel? The simplest things can be the greatest gifts, and that only will come about if we use our power of love, and therefore understanding, kindness, compassion, and try to emphasize with the other people's pains or situations. So that is it, guys, for today. There's a little bit bothering me, but anyway, and that's about it. I'm gonna go 1 second. I'm gonna stop recording and sharing. Alrighty.